Hello everybody and welcome to the list video here at Playing Board Games. It's been over a year since we've done the first one of these and you are more and more of a not new player.
I'm more and more of a new player. I actually learn less as the game goes on. We're actually just releasing these videos in reverse. Yeah. I was the greatest player and...
Yeah, I've been scooping out your brain with an ice cream scoop.
With a hot ice cream scoop.
Yeah. But Eric is here for 5 new player tips for a new player. So just like the perspective of... I mean, it's great. I feel so blessed to be able to have this perspective on the channel of a new player guiding new players. Because I'm literally an Arkham boomer. I've been playing since day one. So I don't really get that same sort of perspective that you do. So,
and to people who say, Eric, you're not a new player, what I will say is one day we should put up a video where Eric tries to guess any card and what it does from anywhere, because all the decks you see me play, everything you see me do, usually comes with about an hour of me staring at pages of cards being like, I don't know what any of this means. Like, I have, one of the things that I think often gets forgotten is I have the benefit of Justin and Justin's massive collection of cards and experience. But, like, I don't know. We just finished recording a video that has old keyring on it.
Yeah.
I know it has 3 keys on it, and I don't know anything else about it. I cannot tell you after having just read that card what it does.
And that's specifically Old Keyring level 3, because Old Keyring 0 only has 2 keys on it. Which is great. I mean, that'd be a good video. Cards, but also, like, rules. I can ask you, like, how certain rules work.
Oh, my... We should do this we should actually do this as a quiz at some point with other players, too, and just have, like, a points thing and see who wins.
For sure. I could definitely... If people want to see that, let me know in the comments.
Yeah, please.
And then also, it's, like, one of those things that, of course, Eric is in a privileged position where, like, it's just as soon as a campaign's done, I'm like, okay, here's the next one. A lot of new players don't do that. But the reality is that everybody's new player Arkham experience is different, right? So it's one of those things where, you know, Eric's still learning, but most importantly, I mean, I hope Eric's having fun.
Oh, yeah.
As you're like, no, I hate this game.
Yeah, I do this for work.
Yeah, Eric's first tip, stop playing. All right, should we dive in and look at your first tip?
Let's do it.
We got...
Number 1, there's a lot to learn from netdecking. So this is not something I do, but I'm actually jumping into a new card game, an old new card game, new for me. And one of the tips that I keep hearing from everybody is Netdeck. Don't be afraid to Netdeck. And one of the reasons for that is actually for the exact reason that I just listed, which is this is going to teach you what certain cards do, and this is going to give you the experience of understanding what certain cards do and what their purpose is, because you're going to get to feel them, and you're going to get to experience the card in an environment that was designed, hopefully, for it to thrive in. So if you're running a Seeker, and you net deck as one of your first decks just to try it out, and you go through and you experience that game with a friendly table, you're going to be like, okay, I get why this card is good. I'm not just looking at this card on a sheet of cards or possible options and trying to divine as a new player, what do these abilities mean in isolation? One of the best reasons to net deck is because it gives you a holistic sense of the cards. How do they relate to other cards? How do they relate to that investigator? And I know the pride of being like, I'm never going to net deck. I will always build my own deck and win or lose my own way. But as someone who loves losing and who learns a lot by losing, there is a point where you stop learning by losing. There is a point where you hit a threshold where you are not going to get better because, again, you're missing that awareness of why cards succeed.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things that they're like, even as you get better, there is still more to learn by losing, but you have to like learn different lessons before those lessons start to like actually appear. You're 100% right. At a certain point, you need to like start learning by like changing like the philosophy for how you approach things or your understanding for things.
To give an example from my own experiences, if you haven't watched them yet, I've played Luke Robinson as a mystic. I learned a lot about the importance of movement from Luke Robinson. I played Dexter Drake. I've gotten worse at being a mystic because of Dexter, because I didn't really understand how I was supposed to play him. I played him and I screwed up and I died. And, spoilers, Dexter Drake dies. And it has actively made me less likely to play a Mystic and less understanding of what makes Dexter specifically strong and other cards work. So sometimes net decking is going to save you from that experience, because even if you lose with that deck, you can look at it and go, okay, there's a way to play it better, and often a good net deck will also include an explanation
a primer.
of kind of how you want to play it.
Yeah. Would you say that if you played Dexter again, would you try a net deck?
If I didn't have you, yeah, I absolutely would.
No, yeah, I guess you do have, once again, that privilege of...
I literally have a net deck right here.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think this is some great advice. There are so many great Arkham content creators on ArkhamDB, on Derby K, on Ancient Evils, Valentine, right? These are all incredible Arkham content creators that release decks. We also release a lot of decks on this channel. That's why we do deck showcases at the end of each one of our runs. On our Patreon, I release 2 deck lists a month. That's where I grab these 2 Trish decks, and I thought this was a great thing to kind of showcase here. These are 2 incredibly different Trish decks, but it's one of those things too that if you net deck and you check out, if you just go to search Trish Scarborough on ArkhamDB and you open up 8 decks and see what cards are similar between them, that's another way for you to, while not necessarily copying the same list, you're searching the net for decks, so it's net decking, right? But it's being able to see those consistencies that allow you to start to discover why cards are included on your own, right? Or once again, reading those primers that people include.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing too, I was going to say there's one more awesome point you made, but I didn't want to interrupt you. It might be gone. I think it's gone. It was great though. But yeah, I think this is...
Find the moment where the light in Justin's eyes appeared and then where it died, and you'll know the point.
I'll probably remember somewhere in this video. I'll be like, oh yeah, do you remember this? And you'll be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got...
number 2 is proxy cards for your deck. So I'm a big fan of owning the real cards. It's something that I
just remembered.
Okay,
I just remembered.
Let's do it.
Another thing you can do, this is something that Eric was not able to do, and this is actually kind of the reverse privilege of having me involved. If you're a new player, a lot of new players buy everything. Don't. Well, buy everything if you want to, if you can afford it, but take it in bite-sized chunks. Add expansion to your collection at a time to make it more easier, and then also your next decking on that. All right, sorry, go here.
Which then comes to this, which is number 2, proxy cards for your deck. So the reason I bring this up is because of that exact reason. Arkham is a massive card pool. I do think you should support the creators. I love Fantasy Flight Games. Currently, their card games are the only card games, or card games they've touched are the only card games I'm addicted to right now. I really love their design spaces. I love their thought. But some runs are hard to find. Some runs are very expensive. Some are potentially going out of print soon. And there's going to be some times where, especially if you're net decking, there is going to be a card that the primer is going to tell you, or that players you talk to are going to be like, you absolutely need this card and you should run it. And in my opinion, do not stop yourself from experiencing the game and experiencing some of the fun of the game by not being willing to proxy a card.
Yeah.
I say always buy them, always eventually own the copy. There is something wonderful about owning the actual cards themselves. I'm a big fan of collecting cards, just because I like that part of the hobby as well. But if a card is hard or rare to find or well outside of your price range, or if you already own a copy, but you don't want to buy the second box yet, because, maybe you don't have a regular play group or something like that, don't be afraid to just run a second Michael Lee and have it. Or be willing to have, 2 decks that have it as a proxy of a card you already own.
Yeah, for a non-unique card, or even just deductions or luckies.
Yeah.
Right? I think this is a very good point, and because while we don't know what is exactly happening with the legacy and current stuff, cards will be going out of print, and it's safe to assume, these 2 cards here, Michael Lee and Agency Backup. Agency Backup is older than Michael Lee, so Michael Lee might have a year left, but he might also be going right away. Agency Backup is probably just dust in the wind at this point. If you want to play him, because he's out of print and he's unlikely to get reprinted, proxy him. right? Just like what I actually did when I first bought into Arkham, I only had one core set. I didn't buy two, because back in the day you used to have to buy two core sets to have a full set of cards. I just took a Magic the Gathering card and a sticker from the dollar store, put it on there, and wrote Leo DeLuca, and I just shuffled it into my deck, right? And sometimes that's all you need. You don't need to get it like fancily printed. You could like print it out a piece of paper, cut it out, put another card behind it. The other thing you can do is like cards like Backpack. There's an upgraded version that's really good that's not in print anymore. Just like slide in a piece of paper in the same sleeve as your Backpack 0 and write like Backpack 2 on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I agree. Just if there's an idea in a deck that you really want to play, but you're missing like 4 cards, just proxy them, right? It'll be better for you to also just experience that deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying, and again, I really want to specify, like, you should support Fantasy Flight Games. Playing Hemlock Vale, I've been just like, wow, this is incredible. The art, the production, the value of everything that you're getting out of this box just by playing it as well as the cards is great. But yeah, if 1 or 2 cards is stopping you from playing the game the way you want to be playing it and exploring something you want to be exploring,
yeah,
don't.
Just put it in your deck.
Just give it a try.
Yeah, even like take like exactly like a copy of Knife and just be like, this is actually just Michael Lee. Maybe have Michael Lee up on your screen or your phone and just like have him there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next one we got here.
Number 3 is run the same campaign twice. So my advice on this one is just a bit of personal advice. I'm not sure if it comes up as another point later, but it's basically goes along the lines of don't spoil things for yourself. There is a lot of power that I hear expert players at Arkham talk about for teching for a campaign. But the thing is, you don't want, I don't think, maybe you do, but you probably shouldn't remove the experience of why they learned to tech for a campaign until you've run it yourself. There are a lot of people who disagree with me on how good Dunwich is. And a lot of people who, in my understanding, either don't play it or tech around certain parts of it. And the same with Forgotten Age. If you take their advice, you will end up playing the games that they play and having the mindset about the campaigns that they have, which will not allow you to develop your own experiences with Arkham and will very quickly remove some of the joy that you can have in losing a game and then getting to run through it again, doing better, teching against it, and then hitting another roadblock and potentially losing the campaign a third time and going, okay, I teched too hard for the early game. Maybe this is more survivable than I realize. Maybe I need to adjust how I play in regards to this campaign. The faster that you master campaigns and campaign choices and campaign knowledge, the less joy you are going to be able to pull out of each campaign and each scenario in there. So spoiling things for yourself can be good for avoiding just bouncing off a campaign hard, but it does mean that you are no longer playing Arkham from your own personal point of perspective, which sounds weird when I suggest net teching, but
That's a big difference, yeah.
Yeah, the difference is that even if a net deck is somewhat teched against a campaign, you're not going to know why it's teched against a campaign until you experience it.
And also, like, generally a lot of net decks are just general. They're very rarely, like, focused on a campaign. What we try to do on our channel, because I think, Eric, you're 100% right here. And I do think that this is something that I've talked about previously on the channel, where it's just like, kind of like people just form an opinion on a campaign based on what they've heard other people say without actually experiencing, right? Like, if I went into Undimensioned and Unseen, which is Eric's favorite scenario, and I said, by the way, everyone hates this scenario, right? Like, everyone freaking hates it. It's so bad. People actually resign on turn 1 and just keep going, right? Because you can just do that with, like, very little penalty, right? And maybe it would have changed it, right? But because I didn't say anything, I just said, like, I usually kind of like infer before, like, this one's a doozy, this one's like a great time, this one's like with like Longest Night, we just played for Hemlock, and I'm like, this is probably the most like intense Arkham scenario that's out there, right? Like that's kind of like what I prefer to sell it as. Eric, like it might have painted Eric's opinion. And then Eric was like, I love Undimensioned and Unseen. And you know what? When Eric was having fun, I was having fun. And it actually boosted Undimensioned and Unseen up a whole rank in my yearly scenario rating, because I was just like, if you just like shut out all the voices and just like have fun with yourself, go for it. And on the same thing, if you're saying like teching for the campaign, try your own tech first, right? Like it's like one of those things where like, I was surrounded by monsters here. Maybe I should have a way to deal to damage to a lot of monsters at one time, right? As opposed to asking on an online forum, it's like, how do I tech against this campaign, right? Kind of just be like, try to make those discoveries yourself, which is very rewarding.
Yeah, like, and once again, to just call it Forgotten Age, I'm not going to spoil anything because you may not have watched our run through of it or played it yet. I hear a lot about people teching against Forgotten Age, specifically. I would say, play it first. If you lose, try your own tech, as Justin said, and then, if it's still frustrating and you still don't feel like you're getting further than you did before, then maybe go online and ask questions, but have those experiences first.
Yeah. I agree. All right, next one.
Number 4, take notes during the scenario. So, I don't do this, and I really should, but one of the problems I have always experienced on this channel, and you will watch it happens if you ever watch me break down my deck, is sometimes Justin will be the one to have to tell me why my deck failed or why I was struggling, and it's because I'm not taking notes during the scenario. Whether that's mental notes because you have a better memory than me, whether that's vibe notes, just chatting about the scenario afterwards, whether that's actually handwritten notes, which is what I'd prefer. Taking notes in a game where you deck build and in a game where you might have to tech against a campaign or you might end up changing things up significantly, noting where you failed regularly, and also, was that failure actually a failure or was it just a feels bad moment?
Yeah.
So I think this happens a lot with players in the Mythos. I know I'm one of them. It's still taking me a long time to accept that the Mythos face hurting you might not be the worst situation possible. And it was only in our last play of Longest Night that I was just sitting on one of the worst experiences you can have from the Mythos, and I crushed it.
Yeah.
I in fact think I played better than I've ever played in any scenario ever under one of the worst
situations that Eric could have been in that scenario. We won't spoil it, but yeah. It was probably the worst position Eric could have been in, and Eric adapted and made it work. Yeah.
And what that taught me was, okay, this is a bad situation, but there are ways around it that don't involve actually having to break the card or don't involve having to get out from under the card. And if I had wasted a huge amount of time and resources trying to get out from under the card, I would have fallen behind.
Yeah.
And that has taught me something about the Mythos phase. And there is so much I could have learned from so many campaigns if I had been taking notes and noting what hurt me, what didn't, what changed the game, what didn't, what felt bad but didn't actually mean anything by the end of the campaign. And Justin pulls up Acolyte and Locked Door, which is great because I wouldn't have thought to mention them, but these are two perfect examples of cards that I have not thought about and gotten absolutely destroyed by. Locked Door will body you.
Yeah.
And knowing that is important. Also knowing when Locked Door doesn't matter is great.
Yeah.
Knowing when the Acolyte doesn't matter to get a kill this turn, so don't waste your time chasing down the Acolyte and killing them, also important.
Yeah.
Sometimes that Acolyte's going to ruin the game for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Acolyte means nothing with that extra doom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might sound strange to take notes in a co-op game, but this is something that I've been trying to push as a mantra on this channel more, which is that it's not a co-op game. Well, you're working together, but you have an opponent. Your opponent's that Mythos deck and that Act and Agenda, right? Like, that's who you're competing against, and it will try to beat you, and you're going to have to try to beat it. So you should take some notes and be like, where did I feel like I struggled? Was this actually a loss? I think what you said is great, too. Was this actually a game ender, or what did it just feel bad? Keep note of like how much damage and horror you had at you in the scenario to be like, am I really needing all of these cards if I'm always ending like this, right? Like, because it's true. Mythos is scary, but I now look at a Mythos card that says take 2 damage, and I'm like, that's free. right? Like you get to that point eventually where like that happens, right? And I think that you have to get there by like taking notes, discovering your play style, and like figuring out what exactly make things like click for you.
And like one thing I noticed Justin do a lot of is Justin will do things like he will casually say to himself, okay, there's 2 rotting remains left in the encounter. I will never get to that point without taking notes. That is a high level and expert level of play, but mentally knowing, okay, this campaign runs a lot of rotting remains. I need to think ahead on that is big, because if you're like me and you think that the Mythos deck is not going to hurt you, and you get a rotting remains,
It'll hurt, yeah.
it will kill you.
Yeah, especially as Finn. Especially as Finn. Yeah.
That's when you'll get that -4, and that's when you'll die. So knowing that, and being prepped for like, okay, if I get rotting remained, like we've had several rotting remains. I'm probably okay until the deck reshuffles.
Yep.
I need to think about that in the future.
Yep, 100%. All right, last tip we got here is.
So, I really wanted to joke and be like, have fun. No, number 5 is try every class twice. So not every identity, but one thing I have been finding for myself is that playing one identity does not teach you a lot about the color, like the Guardian class, the Seeker class, things like that. Every identity is so different that even using a lot of the same cards in them, even using the staples, is going to feel radically different. And that's going to be especially true in things like Mystic. In my experience, especially true in Mystic, especially true in Guardian. So far, a lot of the Seekers I've played have felt kind of samey in some ways, but my Mystic experience was wildly different, identity to identity, and my Guardian experience, wildly different. So don't just play one of these classes and decide, okay, I'm going to do every single Seeker first. Like, don't, if you're like me and a bit of a completionist / autistic, that's something you'll probably want to do. But like, try to find the identities that feel very distinctly different in
try both
each.
of them.
Yeah, and then try both of them.
Yeah.
Run both of them. Maybe even run both of them in the same campaign.
Yeah.
In one that you've done really well in before, and see where it struggles. Justin often talks about like, this class or this identity is going to have an especially hard time in this campaign. Usually specific to identity, not to class.
Yeah.
And that tells me, as a new player, there's something I haven't learned yet. I don't know enough about the difference between rogues to know why this rogue would be bad for this game and this rogue would be good for this scenario. And that's just because I have not played enough of them.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with this one completely. I think that there's such a boon to this game is the fact that there's so many different investigators that you can play, and just like try them out. It's like one of those things, like I understand that there's people who have their own preferences for games, like how Eric always drafts mono red or mono black whenever we do a Magic cube. For me, I'm very much of like, there is like a buffet in front of me and I want to take turns trying everything, right? So it's like one of those things where like, why would I not play every one of my investigators eventually, because it's more fun. And it's like a fun thing to rotate through classes, to be like, I did Guardian last time, let's do Seeker today. Eric's been doing that as well. I kind of like bouncing between them. But I do think that like playing classes, different investigators, especially like wildly different investigators, is a good way for you to discover more about the class that you might not know. Because is this your first rogue?
This is my first rogue, I believe.
Yeah, because you were scared of rogue for a while.
I was scared of rogue, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Finn's a great first rogue for people to play. And I think you're having a great time with Finn. You actually are going through a similar discovery I did with Finn, which is cool to see. Where it's just like, wait a minute, evading can be fun.
Yeah.
And rogue can be really fun. It's a great class. But you have to get there by trying them all, like, multiple times, right?
Well, and the funniest story too is that early in my Magic the Gathering experience, I wasn't like this. So I've gone through a transitionary phase where for those who know, where I used to play either every color. No, sorry, that's not true. I used to only play blue and I used to only play white. I don't know if you remember way back in the old days, but me with my Circles of Protection, absolutely obsessively playing the worst white deck possible. And I eventually actually became a mono black, mono red drafter only after I had experienced all of the colors, played a bunch of them, had a lot of experience with all of them, and figured out not just what identity I thought I was, because I hate red. I hate red as a design, as a concept, the way that they choose what their cards look like in MTG. Red is my least favorite flavor and the best feeling for me in terms of how I play Magic. It makes the most sense. Blue, love blue. I'm terrible as a control player. Mono black hits the perfect mix of both places, but I would have never figured that out if I had stuck with what felt good to me the first blush I had with MTG. And the same is happening to me in Arkham. I was convinced I was going to crush as Dexter. I was convinced that I was going to crush as Guardian, because that tends to be the way that I play in other games. And having experienced this more now, I'm like, okay, actually, I'm not very good with those. I need to either play more of them to try them out, or I need to reach outside of what I think is my flavor and stylistic play in relation to Arkham. And you're never going to know that if you don't try every class at least twice.
Yeah. And it just means you got to play campaigns more. And to go to the note, replay campaigns. Like I've sometimes like seen people say messages online where it's like, well, I played Dunwich once. I think I'm like done with it. I'm like I played any campaign once. I'm gonna move on to the next one. I'm like, are you crazy? Play that shit like 2 more times. I've played Dunwich, I don't know, probably like 3 times a year. So I've played it like at least like 30 times. Like it's like one of those things where it's just like, and I just like the gameplay loop of Arkham so much, right?
Yeah.
And there's still discoveries to be made because not only, I mean, the campaign might be different, the Mythos deck is different. The investigators you bring are different as well, right? So there's a lot to Arkham that makes it so fun. All right. Well, thank you, Eric. That's very, very fun video to listen to, and I always enjoy a video where I just get to like nod and go, yes, that's right. That's cool. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, let me know in the comments. And if you do want to see that quiz video, as we talked about earlier, let me know because I'd be happy to organize that, even though I don't consider myself to be great with the rules of Arkham. Like the Poindexter shit, you know, like going really deep where I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about
Says
that.
the person who tried to explain the priority tree to me once in this game, and I was like,
Yeah, I know that stuff. I'm mad at Arkham right now anyway. I got into a fight about grammar. I'll show you the card after. I'll show you the card.
I love this. I
want to know how you think it works. Okay, bye everybody.